Brought to you by JMR Rentals, professional digital cinema and broadcast equipment rentals in Brooklyn, New York. JMRNY.com. Hello and welcome to No Rest for the Weekend. I'm Jason Godbey, and joining me via Zoom today, fresh from his press junket, is the director of the new feature Squeal, Mr. Aik Karpetian. Welcome, Ike.
Hi, hi.
So thanks for doing this. I know you're doing a bunch of these today, and probably the last thing you want to do is another Zoom interview. But I was really interested in the film. First, I want to talk to you a little bit about you. Can you give me a little background, like how you got into filmmaking? What is your origin story, so to speak?
I'm a Latvian film director. Yes, despite the fact I was born in Armenia, I grew up in Latvia and I got education there. And I studied in Academy of Culture and Directing, and afterwards I was in Paris in a film school, Les Ecs. And I got for my student film national prize as a best student film, and it opened the doors for me for my first feature film. And so the Squeal is my fourth film. Now I'm finishing my fifth film, and also I'm working on opera as a director in opera productions and sometime commercials.
The film is unusual. Can you just, for people who haven't seen the trailer or anything, can you kind of give me some background? Tell me what the film is about and sort of how it came to be?
I wanted to make a fairy tale about how responsibility and love makes you a slave, and if you don't have any kind of love or feelings or to be attached to another person, you are a free man. But it doesn't mean that your life will be secured. So it was my intention in terms of message and of theme of film. And I was working on this project like I started to write like 12, 10 years ago, but then I left it for because of other projects. And in 2018, I came back to this treatment and I started to develop it. And I invited a writer, and we wrote it very fast. In a half year, we wrote a script, and this film has been financed by Latvian Film Center and co-production with Belgium.
What happens in the film? Like, can you tell me a bit about, like, it's a sort of modern fairy tale, but can you give me a little bit about the story?
Story about the guy, a foreigner, who comes to, for him, an unknown country to find his biological father, but he uh, comes for a night to one farmer's daughter, and they capture him as a slave in a pig farm, and make him to work there because they don't have the man hands there. And then he, because of a little piglet, he managed to escape from the slavery with other pigs, and he becomes a leader of other pigs, and they start to pigs discover what freedom is for exactly because they have never lived in a freedom. But driven by feelings, he comes back to his woman, and then you will see what happens.
Was there particular fairy tales that kind of inspired it? Fairy tales that you kind of pulled from as inspiration?
No, 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 not at all. Actually, when the script was ready, I spent a lot of time on finding the right way how to tell the story. Because on the paper it's one thing, but when you make a film, I want to find the perfect style and the language how to tell the story. And so one of the most influential kind of references for me is being Stanley Kubrick's Barry Lyndon film. And actually also there is a music piece from that film, what we bought the rights, and uh, the same performance. And And I'm happy that we just made this decision and made the film in a very kind of illustration way, as a novel illustration with a very clean compositions, very painting kind of white shots, in a way how actually Stanley Kubrick made Barry Lyndon, with a narrator which has been written in a script before. I decided to use as a reference a Barry Lyndon film, but uh, also we made a lot of good decisions in terms of a style, not a story, during the pre-production.
What do you think was like the greatest challenge of making the movie? I don't know how much money you guys had to work with or how much schedule, but like, was it was it working on the performances? Was it working with animals? Did you guys use real animals? Was it CGI animals?
We actually in this film we don't have any CGI animals, maybe except a few shots where the piglet speaks. But most difficult challenge was to keep the whole teams mm, the whole team in the right ambience during the shooting. And it was the most challenging one for me because, of course, nobody imagined what kind of film I'm going to make, maybe except the DOP, maybe a few people, but I'm sure that 95% of members of the crew they didn't know anything about what kind of movie we are going to make. And actually, also during the shooting, I didn't mention that we are going to make a comedy. There's one nobody even thought that we are going to make a comedy because if you were aware, there is no jokes in the film. Actually, it's a comedy with no jokes, and the uh, whole comedian stuff is based on the pace, on the tone of a film, and on the seriousness and how serious we are talking about sometimes silly things, and it makes at least to smile watching the film.
You mentioned tone. I think tone is the hardest thing to get right in a movie, especially if there's any comedy in it. It's you really have to kind of walk a fine line. And this, this film looks like it walks a fine line. How were you? Did you work with the actors beforehand? Did you guys do a bunch of rehearsals and things like that? How were you able? Because you got this guy. He's like chained up. He's in a pigsty, and like he's. This is not your walk in the park acting job. How were you able to work with the actors and get them to get that tone right?
We didn't rehearse at all, and actually, they had very similar relationships in real life. For example, Kevin almost he didn't hate had any he didn't have any kind of relationships with any of his partners, even didn't speak. He was almost completely alone, and it was, I think, initial decision from him. But the other thing is, I didn't rehearse at all the factors. We just went through the script. In that project, I didn't rehearse. It depends from the project. For example, now I'm finishing another film. We had 2 months of rehearsals before shooting. Here, we didn't have any. We had only one or two table readings of a script. That's all. And actually, for actors, it was very hard. I remember the first weeks, they didn't know, they didn't understand what they are doing, and I liked very much it. They didn't ask, they were a bit confused. And if Kevin, for example, if he understood what we are doing, but he didn't answer what kind of film is going to be, he became a bit nervous. And I remember in weekends, I edited these scenes, what we shot before during the weekend. I sent him some scenes to make him understand the ambience of the film. But the other actors, I think, for them it will be a surprise when they watch the film. I'm sure that they didn't imagine what kind of film they have participated in.
Have you showed the cast yet? Have they seen it screened yet?
I think Laura has seen, but no, Kevin has seen the film, but the others, no, they haven't seen anything. So we are going to have a national premiere on September 8th. So I think it will be very soon, in a few weeks, so they will see. For me, it's very curious how they will react on film.
When you showed it to like producers, or when you showed it to, what was their initial reaction? Did they Was it kind of like, oh, this is great, or were they kind of taken aback by it as at first?
I think they had, it's not my first film. Of course, I worked with this producer's first time because before I worked with another producer on three films, and this one was a new experience for new producer. But I think that they had the kind of confidence about me that I'm able to make something quality, and they trust me. They didn't try to be involved in a process, creative process. They could say or comment something, but they didn't exist.
How do you want audiences to walk away? Like, what do you want people to, is there like a message that you want people to come away with? Or like, what's the impact that you want audiences to feel from the film?
I would like that audience after a screening has a smile on the face and the sadness in the heart.
It's a mixed emotion that you're looking for. Like, it's not straight up, they're going to walk out rolling in the aisles.
No, no, it calls sweet sadness.
Yeah, we had our one of our critics review it, and he called it Once Upon a Swine, and he seemed to really like the movie though. He got it. He got the fairy tale, and I hope other people will too. It's always a mystery as to what audiences will think of will think of a film. What do you have coming up? You said you're working on a next project. Is that something that's going to come out next year?
Yeah, yeah. We are now in post production, so I will back from LA in 2 weeks, and I hope in September. Not I have not only the premiere of a Squeal, but also to finish another film, and we don't have a title, but it will be also a very bizarre film. Yeah, but a bit darker, much darker. It's not going to be a dark comedy. It will be a fairy tale, but very gothic.
Can you tell us a little bit about the stories or anything like that?
It's about a family who comes to the old house. The father of the family finds a lot of insects in the house, and he starts to struggling with them, and nobody cares from other family members. They don't care about this insect because insect don't do anything bad to anyone. But he's very worried about it, and they start to fight with each other, wife with husband, with kids, and each one starts to reveal their dark secrets.
It sounds interesting. We don't have a title yet, but definitely have your people reach out when that comes out because it sounds interesting. For people who want to know you more about more about you or more about the film, where can they find you guys online?
I have a page on Facebook, and also we have a page of a film, and I share with my new stuff in Instagram, Twitter, and of course I'm very active in Letterboxd. So if you are on a Letterboxd, please leave your comments, reviews, and ratings. Letterboxd, IMDb, and other medias. I will be very happy to not only bad ones but also good ones, and I will be very happy to read it. And you can also I actually send questions on Instagram or in Messenger.
Thanks so much for doing this. I know you're doing a bunch of these today, but definitely we'll look for you more projects. We really like this one. We gave it a great review, and thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for this conversation.
And that's all we got for you today. Thanks so much for taking this trip down the rabbit hole. For more of our content, including our movie reviews, visit our website, norestfortheweekendpodcast.com. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube, youtube.com/getbehindtherabbit. Once again, I'd like to thank my guest, Aik Karapetian, and our sponsor, JMR Rentals. For Behind the Rabbit Productions, I'm Jason Godbey. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.